From Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville, Arkansas, welcome to the SEC on ESPN. College football primetime presented by Miller Lite. Featuring Tennessee against Arkansas. Arkansas number 8. I'm Mark Jones along with Ed Cunningham. Janine Edwards down in the field. After the opening drive of the ball game, Tennessee took the opening kickoff, moved it all the way down into Arkansas territory. 9 plays, 53 yards, and then just a moment ago, Derek Rogers, the Vols receiver, losing the ball, had it tore loose before he hit the turf. Apparently, the call on the field as it's being reviewed right now was that it was a fumble.
And by that video evidence, it looks indisputable to me that the ball was loose, already on its way out of Rogers' hands. And what a tough break for Tennessee. They convert on a 4th and 3. A nice throw by their true freshman quarterback, Worley, who looked so much better in that first drive than he did 2 weeks ago against South Carolina in his first start. And watch, the ball is already loose. As Gadsden comes in, you can see it already popping out. And then Highsmith comes in and pulls that out. What a heads-up play by Highsmith. Come in and finish that off.
Volunteers coming off a win last week, a shutout victory against Middle Tennessee State. Arkansas, meanwhile, coming off a win last week here at home against South Carolina. This review taking a little bit longer than most of us would have thought.
After further review, the runner was down prior to losing possession.
Oh, that's not right. I'm not quite sure what the review officials were looking at, but that was a turnover, clearly, for Arizona, or excuse me, Arkansas.
Derek Dooley, the head coach in his 2nd year in Knoxville. Right now trying to mold his young team into a cohesive unit, and Bobby Petrino, his counterpart in his 4th season, watching 17 seniors play their final game here in Fayetteville. Members of his very first recruiting class. Guys have really changed the culture here and turned it around in Fayetteville. First down and 10 for the Volunteers from the 23-yard line. Little wildcat look here. Marlon Lane takes the direct snap. Looks to throw it. You might want to tuck that under. Runs out of bounds, losing about 4 yards on the play. Let's take a look at our impact players, brought to you tonight by Chick-fil-A.
For Tennessee, offensively, Derek Rogers, number 2 in the SEC in receiving yards per game, behind Arkansas's Jarius Wright. He's already had an impact. Alex Bullard began starting at center a few weeks ago. They were having some troubles at the snap, but they need that middle of the offensive line for their inside run game. And Jake Beckett, a senior, you mentioned senior night. He is the 4th member of his family to play for Arkansas. Finally healthy, had a hamstring injury, missed 3 games, 3 sacks last week against South Carolina, playing at a high level right now.
There's Poole on the handoff. Got about 2 on the play, and Justin Worley, boy, what a very ignominious, unceremonious beginning he had several games ago. His very first snap that we saw him take against Alabama was a fumble, and then he was forced to hand it off 4 times after that. Never got a chance to throw the ball. But then last week really got his feet under him a little bit against Middle Tennessee. Tyler Bray right there, the starting quarterback on the season, just had the cast removed from his thumb on Monday, and they're hoping to get him back soon. 12th play of the drive for the Vols. The pass is caught at the 25-yard line to Lane, but it's far short. Now, do they go for it here on 4th down again? Or?
No, you kick this one. You've gained enough yardage where you're in the wheelhouse for Polardi. He's got a career long of 52, which was in that Alabama game. But this swirling wind, it's hard. It's calmed down a little bit, but it was gusting as high as 30 and 40 miles an hour earlier in the game. Right now, it looks like it might be into his face just a little bit.
Polardi out of St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale. It's a fake. And he's got a man open, but he couldn't find him downfield. Derek Dooley decides to dial up a little trickery, but it doesn't work.
Velarde had completed a pass on a punt against Alabama that picked up a first down, so confident in the left-hander, but that could not have been covered any better by Arkansas. What a wonderful job as the coverage came over. That's Jericho Nelson just doing a sensational job of coming over and guarding that. If he does not read that and go cover it, that might have been an easy throw and catch, but Nelson, the senior, sniffed it out the whole way.
Coming back the other way now from the 25-yard line, 1st and 10. Tyler Wilson on the play fake. Completes the pass to Dennis Johnson, who has open real estate, knocked out of bounds at about the 49-yard line. And it's a first down after the 24-yard gain. Pretty good first play for the Razorbacks offensively.
One thing that Arkansas does as well or better than anybody in the country is involve their running backs in the passing game. Dennis Johnson, of course, was out last year with that bow injury. When he was cleared to practice, no contact for the bowl game. He actually practiced with the wide receivers.
Going to blow this one dead. And there's a flag down on the field. Tyler Wilson, the starting quarterback.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 80. 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
No, just turn it off. I need it. Let's take a look at our impact players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
Jarius Wright. The good news for Jarius is he's coming into the Arkansas career receiving record.
And Wilson knocked down by Johnson on the play.
And Jarius Wright 3 off the career receiving mark, but the problem is Joe Adams is 3 off the career receiving mark, so we've got a nice race to see who's going to finish the all-time leader at Arkansas in receptions. And Malik Jackson, the defensive tackle, playing as well as any inside player in the SEC.
2nd down and 8 coming up. Handed off to Johnson. Broke one tackle but couldn't get by Austin Johnson there again for another stop. Going to set up 3rd down and long. And Tyler Wilson, one of the members of that freshman recruiting class, the first actually for Bobby Petrino, putting up good numbers on the season, completing 62%, 15 touchdown passes against just 4 interceptions. 3rd and long coming up. Wide open Johnson, and he's got room. Puts his hat down and gets the first down at the 36-yard line. Justin Coleman made the stop.
This is a blown coverage by Tennessee with all of the youth that Justin Wilcox has to use. Look at the middle linebackers. Nobody flows to that side. It looked to me like A.J. Johnson, one of the true freshman linebackers for Tennessee, should have been over to that side. Hamilton runs off the defensive back, and that's way too much yardage for a swing pass.
Boy, Dennis Johnson getting a lot of usage here in the early goings. He had a big week last week in that win against South Carolina, and one of the great stories in college football, a comeback story. Missed 13 consecutive games dating back to last year after he had emergency surgery. Had an internal injury.
Just a freak deal. He landed on the ball and it tore his bowel, which is poisonous to your system. They had to rush him to the hospital, not sure if he was going to make it, and almost gave up his football career in the spring. Didn't feel like he could do it.
Wingo now in for him, and Wilson gets it off while falling to the turf. Jarius Wright makes the reception. His forward progress is going to give him 7 yards and a first down.
Well, Garrick McGee, the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, says it's not always pretty. But watch Malik Jackson get off the ball, just blows right by the center, Travis Swanson. But watch the delivery by Wilson. He doesn't have to be perfect. and that's what Garrick McGee says. We talked to him about technique, but when he completes it, you have to give him a plus on the play, even though it's not exactly how you would coach it. He just has the ability to throw it when he's off balance and be accurate.
On 1st and 10, he hands it off to Wingo, and Wingo goes off tackle for about 4. Is it any wonder, Ed, that Tyler Wilson's idol is Brett Favre.
No, and that's exactly what Garrick McGee was telling us yesterday. And he has the uncanny, Wilson has the uncanny ability, and as McGee says, he doesn't have to throw it off the pitcher's mound every time. And of course that helps in a league like the SEC where there's some pretty good defensive front play.
2nd and 5. Wingo still a tailback. He gets the call. Got a blocker in front of him. Hit the nerve and the seam. Flag down. No signal. Looks like he ran out of bounds before he got to the pylon.
Yeah, they're going to get Javonte Herndon with a block in the back, and a block that he didn't have to make. And this is going to be a very costly penalty.
Yeah, Coach Petrino let him hear about it too.
Block in the back. Offense, number 19. Penalty is 10 yards from the spot of the foul. After enforcement, it will still be a first down.
He might have made it in anyway, Ed.
Right there is the block in the back. Just no need to make that block at all. I'm not sure if Wingo scores, but instead of being out on the 1 or inside the 1, now you have a 1st and 10. And luckily for Arkansas, it is 1st and 10, not 1st and goal. So they can still pick up the first down inside the 3-yard line.
Pushes it back to the 13. Three on the play clock. They get it off in time. And incomplete. Intended to Greg Childs. Another one of those seniors playing their final game here in Fayetteville.
And this is an area where Bobby Petrino, when you study his offense, and it's an offense that I have some familiarity with. He comes out of that Northwest. Of course, I played at the University of Washington. He coached at Idaho. Keith Gilbertson, who was the coach there before John L. Smith and Bobby Petrino, so they got there, kind of run that so often. Look for some crossing routes here. They love guys to run by each other to see if you can get a natural rub with the defender getting knocked off.
Wilson with time and now scrambling and forced out of bounds at about the 16-yard line, and a late flag thrown. Number 44, Maurice Couch, the JC transfer, hitting the quarterback Tyler Wilson perhaps a little bit late when he was out of bounds.
Now you just can't leave your feet on a
After
quarterback.
the play was over, personal foul, defense, number 44.
And it's not much of a hit, but
automatic first down.
officials are now told, error on the side of caution. This is about safety. Clearly Wilson is giving himself up. He's out of play, and Couch just makes not a smart play at all. And again, not much of a hit, but it doesn't matter. The officials are coached. If they are out of bounds and they're giving themselves up, if someone goes and hits them, throw the flag. So the proper call by the officials here. Just not a bright move by Couch.
First and goal. Bobby Petrino said he wasn't happy with goal line situations last week against South Carolina. This time they handed off to the tailback. That was Dennis Johnson, who's back in the ball game. It'll be 2nd down and goal. Johnson with a productive week last week.
Yeah, he had 252 all-purpose yards, which included a 98-yard kickoff return. South Carolina had 207 yards of total offense. So, of course, all-purpose includes the kicking game, but he had more yardage than South Carolina's entire offense did.
2nd and goal. Broderick Green in the ball game. Wilson in trouble and wisely throws it away. So it'll be 3rd down and goal, and this is exactly what Petrino was alluding to when he said he wasn't happy with their goal line situation and red zone work last week.
Their red zone percentage is high, but it's been a lot of field goals. And right now, if you look at their offense, Greg Childs is kind of the tallest receiver. You know, Joe Adams at 5'11", Jarius Wright at 5'10", they're most productive. So they don't have big receivers for in here in the red zone, but with this bunch formation to the left, don't be surprised if they try to create some confusion and, again, rub guys off of each other.
3rd and goal. They heat him up. Complete. Touchdown. Right. Boy, Wright got it out of there. Pardon me, Wilson got it out of there to Wright before he got creamed. And for Wright, it's his 10th touchdown catch of the season, the 22nd of his career. On senior day, the kid that said, "I'm from Arkansas, this is all I know." Well, he knows touchdowns. And the Hogs lead 7-0. Back everyone, Arkansas with a 7-0 lead, scoring after forcing a turnover on downs. 13 plays, 75 yards. And Ed, let's take one more look at that nice pass and catch. What was the key here?
Well, you had a bunch formation to the left. All three guys are going to run routes into the end zone. And then you have Wright running a drag, a shallow drag, short of the end zone. And Isaiah Lanier trying to cover, can't get all the way over there. But it was a wonderful design, getting all those guys in that bunch formation to clear out, and then having Wright come underneath. And good job by Tyler Wilson. Obviously, his first side of the field he's going to look to is the left for those three guys in the end zone. They weren't there. He knew he had the drag coming up underneath to replace him.
Wilson with his 15th touchdown toss of the season. Tennessee Volunteers took it down the field and looked pretty good on their opening offensive sequence. Converted once on 4th down, and then on the second one unsuccessful. Derek Dooley's punter, Mike Pilardi, trying to pass on a fake punt, incomplete. Tennessee Volunteers having a tough season, looking for their first SEC win. This one goes out the back of the end zone, and Justin Worley will take over on his own 20-yard line. We'll see how the true freshman quarterback responds to this early adversity when we return. Which contains the names of every person ever to graduate from the university. Now, rumor has it that if you step on the name of the first graduating class of 1876, you will never graduate from the university. And you go to Dean Wormer's office and you get put on double secret probation, and it's all over.
Well, one guy we know who didn't step on the 1876 class, Jake Beckett. He's already graduated, has his degree in finance, and he's going for a sports management master's. Said he's about 3/4 of his way through that.
Generations of Beckett's have attended here. Dad, uncle, grandpa. 1st and 10 for the Vols. Poole stopped at about the line of scrimmage as we check in with Wendy Nix.
Mark, thank you. Boise State and TCU. Boise, remember, one of the 5 remaining unbeaten teams. Kellen Moore here to Dallas Burrows, the 55-yard touchdown. Beautiful. And it's 35-28 Boise State over the Horned Frogs. And Georgia all over Auburn, 45-7, 4 touchdown passes for Aaron Murray.
Wendy back here, 2nd and 10. Worley sets his feet, got rid of it, almost intercepted by Beckett. Beckett actually had him in the grasp. And Alonzo Highsmith almost.
Got to be careful if you're a freshman. No, for the interception return for a touchdown. You'll take the grounding over an INT going the other way for 6. Just he did have Poole in the area. But,
yeah, he had Highsmith too, though.
Yes, he did. You've just got to be careful. If you can't get more on that ball, just take that sack. Come back and play another down.
Worley, the former Gatorade High School Player of the Year out of the state of South Carolina. Looking at 3rd and long, and Hog fans bringing the noise. Penalty against Tennessee for delay of game.
That's what you're going to get occasionally, although that seemed awfully fast to me. Dooley upset knowing they need to get it going. But with a young quarterback and all the noise in a building like this, you're going to have a couple of those penalties.
21 freshmen have played this year for the Vols, 16 of them true freshmen. 3rd and 15. A true freshman pulling the trigger to Marlin. Makes the catch, but short of the 1st down at the 24.
And that's a nice call by Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator.
Why?
Well, you've got your quarterback who almost just threw a pick six. Then he gets a delay of game. Obviously, is in his head a little bit. There's Chaney there in the middle looking back. So it's a nice, safe call. Let's pick up some yardage. If Lane can break a tackle or they don't defend it properly, maybe we pick up the first down. But that side of the field, nice conservative call, I think, in that situation.
Matt Darr punting from his 8. Keep an eye on the punt return unit for the Razorbacks. They've done a great job this year. Marquell Wade, number 1, has a touchdown on a punt return this year. That was Joe Adams almost losing it. Nothing on the return of the 34-yard punt. Hogs with good field position when we return. 4-1, trailing LSU and Alabama. Next week, it's a game against Mississippi State for the Razorbacks at Cunningham. And then the big one the following Friday against LSU. They have a shot to play for the championship.
Well, if you look at it, if Alabama, LSU, and LSU loses to Arkansas, Alabama wins out, you get all the way down to tiebreaker number 8 in the SEC, which would go to the BCS. Now, I think that in that scenario, Arkansas may need some help because the top 2 teams, that they finish within 5 of each other, even in a 3-way tie snenario, then it's head-to-head. So if it's Alabama, Arkansas in that top within 5, then it's Alabama. But Alabama still having Auburn. You never know what may happen.
Well, we know what happened here. An interception by the Volunteers. A pick by Austin Johnson of the Tyler Wilson pass, overthrowing his receiver. He had a couple of picks last week and throws one here. And for Johnson, that's his 3rd pick of the season.
Johnson getting a hugely deep drop. You don't see middle linebackers usually drop. He's playing the deep middle of the field, turn and ran, and that's Johnson. You mentioned his 3rd interception. That's his 3rd in 4 games. Wow. Started the streak, well, kind of the streak against Alabama, and just a tough, bad throw by Tyler Wilson, but you don't expect the middle linebacker to bail out that deep, that's for sure.
Is that a cover 2 deal where he just turns and runs?
Well, that's what that Tampa 2 is called, when that middle linebacker bails to the middle of the field, exactly.
There's Rajon Neal. See, I've been watching too much of that NFL countdown breakdown stuff. Neal with a couple of yards, gains 3 on the play, 2nd and 7.
And the whole theory behind bailing your middle linebacker that far, when you are in a cover 2, that means 2 deep safeties have the deep halves of the field. And so what happens is there's a soft spot between the 2 safeties. So when you take your middle linebacker and run him like that, you're trying to take away that soft spot between the 2 safeties.
2nd and 7. Worley gets rid of it quickly. Pass complete to Zach Rogers, and a special day here at Razorback Stadium, Janine, for the seniors, right?
That's right, Mark. You know, there are 17 Arkansas seniors playing here in Razorback Stadium for the last time, and they were part of Bobby Petrino's first recruiting class. They told us they were lucky to go 5-7 that freshman season, but over the course of the next 3 years, they've gone 26-8 and taken the program to its first BCS Bowl. Petrino says the group is special. We've taken some beatings, but they've changed the culture and the course of the entire program.
Yeah, recently taking Arkansas to its first ever BCS Bowl game. Worley plants his feet. Should have been caught, but incomplete, intended for Dayrick Rogers. Knocked loose by Thomas, and it's 4th down coming up for the Vols.
Thomas jumped this route really well. Talking to Willie Robinson, the defensive coordinator, who also coaches the secondary. He said Tremaine Thomas and Eric Bennett have been so good this year at studying, especially when they play young quarterbacks, knowing where they're going to go with the ball against certain defenses, I call, and certainly that time Thomas was on top of that run.
Miner and Adams back deep. Matt Darr standing at his own 10-yard line. Line drive punt taken at the 40. That's Adams. Trying to reverse this field, but everybody's staying home. Now he does a tightrope act. Boy, Houdini's in the house wearing number 3, and nobody's home to watch that house. Touchdown, Hogs! Holy Hog! The third one of the season for Joe Adams. And Ed, sometimes you're not really sure what you just saw. That's about as spectacular a punt return as you're going to see in a season. As Arkansas takes a 14-0 lead, and Adams, one of those seniors, playing his final game here in Fayetteville.
And he's done a little bit of everything this year for Arkansas. He had a 92-yard touchdown run, lined up as a running back against Auburn. Coming into the game, the only player in college football with a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and 2 or more punt returns. Now 3 to match his jersey number punt returns on the season. And I'm still not sure what I just saw. I'm sure there was a moment right about here where Bobby Petrino is saying, get down, we're at the 35. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? And then he gets a couple of good blocks. And right there is where he turns on the Jets. You can see he's not quite 100%. He's got to be a little tired after going back and forth. And, of course, John L. Smith, the longtime head coach at Idaho and Michigan State, that's probably just how he drew it up.
Of course. And let's take a look at our FaceTime profile brought to you by Edward Jones. John L. Smith, his signature, even during his time as a head coach, were the work of his special teams, right?
And there were 6 missed tackles in that punt return. Again, John L. Smith, you mentioned his specialty has always been special teams. Of course, Bobby Petrino started working for John L. Smith when John L. was the head coach at Idaho. And when Bobby got the job here, he went to his old boss and said, I'd love you to come down. He coaches outside linebackers, coordinates the special teams, and they have the best offense in the SEC. But when you stack up what they've done on special teams, by far the best special teams in the SEC, and a lot of that has to do with the hard work of John L. Smith. But that one, I think we're going to give that one pretty much all to Joe Adams.
Yeah, I'm not sure there was a scheme involved in that one at Cunningham. 17 seconds to go in the first quarter. Young. No repeat performance or duplication by Young on that kickoff return. One more look at the
let's
wheeling and dealing here.
There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4 and 5. There's 6. And then it's just outrunning. Unbelievable. And what happens a lot of times when plays like that start going on, the coverage team starts to get very tired because they're fighting off blocks, they're missing tackles, and all of a sudden, you saw Joe Adams wasn't quite 100% full speed there because of how tired he was. Imagine the guys chasing him, how tired they got.
1st and 10. Poole trips and falls after a gain of about a yard on the play, and that's going to put the first 15 minutes of this ball game in the can. Beckett making the stop on the play, but what a first quarter, and Bobby Petrino's team leading 14-0. Joe Adams lit this place up just a few minutes ago on this punt return. We'll be back right after this. Well, we talked about the marvelous special teams work by Arkansas this year. Joe Adams, that was his first punt return for a touchdown against Missouri State. Felt so nice he did it twice. There's a look at his second one in the same game. And then last week against South Carolina, Dennis Johnson on a kickoff return took it 98 yards for the score against the Gamecocks. And for that, Dennis Johnson was named the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week.
5 returns this season for Arkansas on special teams.
2nd and 9 for Justin Worley. Fires high and almost, it is intercepted. Wow, what a catch by Tremaine Thomas. And now they're saying it wasn't. But you got to give him points anyway. I'm not sure he got his feet down.
Well, let's see that right foot.
Let's review this.
Out of bounds.
He was out of bounds.
What a grab, though. And this is a defense that has been very good at interceptions.
Yeah, 5 consecutive games with one.
Thomas had 2 against Auburn. His running mate in the backfield, Eric Bennett, had a 3-game stretch with interceptions against Auburn, the game clincher against Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. So It's a group that can pick it off.
3rd and long. Worley under duress and incomplete for Rivera. And it's a quick 3 and out. Good pressure by Beckett and Byron Jones, number 54 right there.
Jones just blew right through the middle of this offensive line. Worley did not have a chance. Jones, a guy who's very athletic, and Willie Robinson very happy about this young man, just a sophomore. Very athletic guy, stays on his feet.
Now what do? Do you kick away from Adams here, Ed?
I think you try to kick it out of bounds. Yeah, I don't think your coverage team is, I think, still probably a little winded from having to chase him last time.
Well, he calls for the fair catch and watches it bounce at the 36. A flag thrown. There might have been a little contact.
Well, I think they're going to get a block in the back. Second one of the game for Arkansas. And this will be a good break for Tennessee. Down 14-0. Gave up a special teams touchdown. Your defense having to go back out, which would have been pretty good field position. Now blocking the back, backs Arkansas up likely to about the 20-yard line. So Tennessee catching a little break that they may need at this moment in the game, because all the momentum right now is for the home team.
During the kick, blocking the back, receiving team number 8. The penalty is 10 yards. Respond to foul. First down.
Let's take another look at this.
This is Tevin Mitchell. It just amazes me when guys do that. You look at it, you say, all right, you saw the guy's name, you were running behind him.
That's the adage, right? If you see his numbers, you don't hit him, right?
You just got to let him go. That jaw pushed forward tells us all we need to know about what John L. Smith thinks about the penalty.
Well, we were talking about Arkansas having a shot still. They got LSU in a couple of weeks. Tennessee with 4 wins coming into this game. They need 2 more to become bowl eligible. This one a big one for the Vols. First down and 10 for Arkansas. Like a busted play that time, and Wilson loses about a yard as we go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. A look at what's going on across our networks on ESPN and ABC. The 20th anniversary of the first wide right game, Miami and Florida State, and it looks like we're headed to overtime. Texas A&M and Kansas State tied 31-all. Texas A&M had a 10-point lead, but K-State tied it up, and we're headed to OT.
All right, Wendy. Wilson completes it to Johnson, and he's brought down immediately at the 25-yard line. Justin Coleman making the stop on the play. Here's what's happening now from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Razorbacks looking for their 7th consecutive win against SEC East teams. They've won 5 straight overall. Tennessee looking for its first conference win still. Midway point in November. 3rd and long coming up for the Razorbacks. Wilson using his legs to buy some time, and the pass is incomplete. No flag on the play, and the Tennessee defense gets the offense of Arkansas off the field. The pass intended for Hamilton.
And this defensive line for Tennessee getting some pressure on Wilson. Earlier in the year, this offensive line for Arkansas struggled a little bit in pass pro. Remember back to that Alabama game, how much Wilson got hit in that game, and that time an excellent job by Kurt Maggitt coming in for Tennessee, normally a linebacker, but came down on that defensive line and got some pressure.
First punt of the night, high snap as Dylan Breeding gets it all the way down to the 33, where it's juggled on the play by Young. A 42-yard punt. Nothing on the return. The Vols huddling up and trying to get a good game plan going. Back. Watch ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. 1st and 10 for the Vols. Single back set and nowhere to go that time. No gain, probably a loss of a few, as Tony had nowhere to go.
Jerron Tony, a walk-on who's been given some time trying to get some type of run game going. But one of the things I think that Tennessee has to start doing is trying to get to the edge a little bit more. A lot of their run game is between the tackles. They have some speed with Devin Young if they need to get it with some fly sweep, something. And Dooley having to use a timeout. Again, these are mechanics when you have a young quarterback.
And Derek Dooley trying to increase the tempo, get the pace moving a little bit. Back after this.
Hey, ladies. Enjoying the film?
Fourth quarter, Horned Frogs trailing 35-28, touchdown Casey Paul Hall to Brandon Carter. TCU down 1, so they go for 2. Paul Hall to Josh Boyce. It is good. He fights his way in, and TCU leads 36-35. Boise State gets in field goal position. One last shot, and no, sir. One of the 5 remaining undefeated teams has lost. BC. Mark?
A great finish coming up there as the ranks of the undefeated looking to dwindle a little bit. This is Marlon Lane.
Well,
third and about 7.
And what an unbelievable change of events. And you've got to think the Houston Cougars right now are absolutely going crazy, because that opens the door, if they are able to go undefeated, to now become an automatic into the BCS. If they can reach into that highest ranking of the non-automatic qualifying schools, all of a sudden the door open for the Houston Cougars. What a great break if you're a Cougars fan.
Case Keenum and head coach Kevin Sumlin doing a nice job down there this year. Worley drills it incomplete, intended for Rogers. And it's 4th down coming up, then they'll punt.
Rogers looked like he short-armed that just a little bit. Ball thrown a little high, but in traffic, I'm not so sure. You know, we've seen Rogers a bunch this year.
Yeah.
He is a tremendously talented young man, as Tyler Bray had that cast taken off. You talked about having everybody come over there, but Rogers sometimes has got to get a little more focused.
Velarde punting this one, and not a great effort from him. But it takes a volunteer roll. It's going to go all the way down close to the 30, maybe even the 29, at a very fortuitous roll. Well, we saw the Boise State TCU highlight a minute ago from Wendy in the studio, and of these undefeated teams, who do you figure is the most vulnerable? Stanford with a big one tonight against Oregon.
I'm not so sure. The way that Oregon has now, it looks like they've put it into 4th gear offensively. And Stanford, if they do have a ding, it's that defense. You can move the ball on them. Stanford can get their power running game going possibly, but Oklahoma State, I just don't see Oklahoma State against an LSU type of defense being able to do what they can do, and their defense is just not going to be able to slow down a power running game, I don't think.
Here's Wilson chucking one wide open, and Adams had nothing but open real estate ahead of him. And if there's a pass that Wilson wishes he could have back, that would be it.
And just another blown coverage by Tennessee.
You know, Eddie, you have to think about the wind. Did that maybe carry it that far? Or because he really overthrew him.
No, it's a tight spiral. It's a tight spiral. If the ball's spinning a little off, sometimes the wind will push it. But that one, he just, you know what you got to do on that is get a little more air under it. Don't try to drive that ball on a low throw. Throw it up and let Adams adjust to it. If anything, when that guy's that wide open, underthrow it.
Johnson on the handoff, got a little burst, found a seam. Dennis Johnson off to the races. Touchdown, Arkansas. "71 yards in a burst by the reigning special teams player of the week, Dennis Johnson. And boy, he shifted it into gear and was gone. A career-long run for Dennis Johnson. As Arkansas now leads 21-0.
Good blocks up front, but this was about a missed angle by the safety from Tennessee. right there at the end. You saw Rod Wilkes come over. He took a bad angle. Johnson took it to the house.
Football Primetime, brought to you by new Dr. Pepper 10. All 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper in just 10 bold calories. And Nissan, proud partner of the Heisman Trophy.
Look at the Veterans Day Parade. Fayetteville City Square, a contest was held where students and faculty members sent in pictures that displayed the importance of veterans. There's a display of a mural of the best photos on campus, too. There are more than 500 students at the University of Arkansas who receive some type of military benefits. Fans there getting a chance to express their thanks as we have throughout the last couple of days, and from all of us at ESPN to all the veterans out there, want to express our heartfelt thanks for defending our liberties both abroad and here. Young on the kickoff return. He's pushed out of bounds at about the 23-yard line. Well, as part of our celebration of Veterans Day, join ESPN starting tomorrow for America's Heroes, a salute to our veterans. All week long, we'll feature sports-related stories and special events throughout our programming lineup, focusing on our troops and veterans. You can support our troops and wounded warriors, home or away, and their families by going to giveuso.org or donate $10 by texting USO to 50555. Your support will provide free phone cards as well and holiday packages. Downfield, jump ball, caught. And that's the type of play that Tennessee receivers can make when given an opportunity. Neal with that catch.
What a nice job by Neal, a converted running back. As this ball was overthrown, just took a nice little pause, waited, the ball was underthrown, goes up, not a tall guy. Neal only goes 5'11", working there one-on-one against a 6-foot Mitchell, so he doesn't have a height advantage, but he just did a really good job slowing down, getting his body under control, and perfectly timing his leap.
Play fake, Worley given time. That one way over the top of his intended receiver, Zach Rogers. Hey, Janine, what's quarterback doing down there, Worley?
Well, you know, when you have a freshman quarterback playing in his first road start, you've got to give him a little extra one-on-one time, and that's what quarterbacks coach Darren Henshaw has been doing with Worley after every series. He's been sitting with him one-on-one the entire time. I can see him, he's been sort of going through technique with him, imitating that. He's been patting him on the back, giving him a lot of advice, and just trying to boost his confidence and get him through any jitters he may be feeling.
Yeah, part of the approach that Coach Dooley's staff has used with this very young team. Nowhere to go for Poole. He's going to lose a yard on the play. Nice stop by Jerry Franklin.
And with a young quarterback, the one thing Derek Dooley has had to do is make sure that they're very clean about what communication, who is talking to Justin Worley and when. Janine just talking about Darren Henshaw, the quarterback coach. He talks about his technique and mechanics. Jim Chaney there on the left talks about scheme, and Dooley is in charge about situations. And they've even had to have a conversation with Tyler Bray, who wants to help, and say, hey, don't confuse the young man. Just let us do our job. He wants to be helpful, but they've really had to kind of hone in the communication to this young quarterback.
On 3rd and long, boy, that's the type of throw he can make with a clear head and not too much confusion. Rogers with a 17-yard catch.
Well, and that was the other thing that Dooley was telling us about what they learned in that first game, although it was a struggle against South Carolina, was you start to get a sense of what a quarterback likes and he's good at. Because you talk to a quarterback during the week, especially a young one, he'll always say, yeah, I like that, I like that, I like that. But the one thing that they've been doing the last couple of weeks is paring down their game plan. Probably had too much in it for South Carolina, but through practice and games, they're starting to figure out what he's good at.
Handed off on the reverse. Neal, did he get in? Touchdown Vols. Neal made the 50-yard catch to put them in position and then finished the job on a nice reverse. His second rushing touchdown of the season. Boy, how big was that touchdown for the Vols?
Huge, huge. I think if they don't score on this drive, Arkansas comes out and scores, they probably get run out of this building. But now, get a little confidence, see what your defense may be able to do when you send them back out.
The extra point good. And the Vols get on the scoreboard. It's been a struggle this year for them scoring points. But Justin Worley, the true freshman quarterback out of the state of South Carolina, the first snap of his career, a fumble, followed by 4 consecutive handoffs in that game we did. And then in his first career start, 10 of 26, a couple of picks against Alabama. And then last week, getting his feet under him a little bit in that victory against Middle Tennessee State, 291 yards passing with a touchdown. Tonight, how would you assess beyond the stats how he's done?
He looks like a completely different guy than we saw against South Carolina. And Derek Dooley said that he was overwhelmed with anxiety. Of his first 15 plays, he made 9 mistakes. And you could see he just looked a little confused, but he looks like he's grown up a ton since we saw him 2 weeks ago against South Carolina. Went against Middle Tennessee State, granted not quite the competition that you get from South Carolina, and Arkansas had a good game. But I also think the coaches have done a good job. You know, I was a little surprised when we talked to Jim Chaney before that first start that they said maybe they put in a little more offense than they had with Matt Sims because of the guy's arm talent. Worley is accurate, he's got a good arm, but now they've started to pare back, and I like that call on the reverse. They need to work the edge a little bit more in their run game.
This one will come out to the 20-yard line. Folks, join host Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and Craig James for BCS Countdown Sunday night as they unveil the latest BCS polls and analyze who are the contenders versus pretenders. BCS Countdown presented by Vizio on ESPN Sunday, 8:15 Eastern, continuing on ESPNU at 9. And things beginning to shake down a little bit more. Boise State in a little bit of trouble against TCU. Boise State, one of the undefeateds going into the weekend. 1st and 10 Razorbacks.
Of course, a little confusing in the Arkansas world when they beat a top 15 team in South Carolina and moved from number 7 to number 8. But a lot of ball to be played.
Run between the tackles. That's Wingo gaining a couple of yards. Yeah, a lot of people perplexed by the fact that they were leapfrogged, usurped by the Oregon Ducks after beating, like you said, a very good South Carolina team.
But Bobby Petrino was very clear with his team. It doesn't matter because we've got Tennessee. We've got, you know, we have to win the game. We have to beat Tennessee or nothing matters.
Nelson going up top for Wright. Was it caught? Juggled and caught at the 40. These Razorbacks putting on a show tonight, never giving up on that ball. Jarius Wright, a picture of concentration here.
Unbelievable. Going against a true freshman, Justin Coleman, who lucky he doesn't get called for pass interference, but how does he keep that ball alive and keep it off the grass? Arkansas going fast so it doesn't get reviewed.
They fear not, because that was a clean catch. Bragg make that reception.
And you heard the crowd right before the snap. It's because they saw this on the Diamond Vision.
1, 2, 3 off his face.
You know what that looked like? It looked like that catch by Tyrone Prothro from Alabama several years ago where he caught it on the back of the defender going into the end zone.
Yeah, I did that game, interestingly enough. 2nd and 2 coming up. Wingo in the backfield. And when Wingo gets the first down, let's go to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. It's a Dr. Pepper 10 conference update. The #1 LSU Tigers facing Western Kentucky. Jordan Jefferson airs it out, 59 yards to Ruben Randall. Touchdown LSU. Tigers on the board. It's 7-0.
All right, Wendy back here. 1st down and 10 for Arkansas from the 28. Into the boundary. Wingo and the Razorbacks have accumulated a nice little highlight video to show prospective recruits on a night like this.
There is no way in the world that right now Arkansas, between Adams with that and Wright with the catch off the fingertips, and of course this long run by Dennis Johnson, but I think you've got number 1 and number 2 in top 10 for SportsCenter tonight. I'm already lobbying that we've got 1 and 2 in this game. Just line them up.
And a lot of time remaining too for the fireworks. Almost intercepted dangerously into coverage. That was Eric Gordon, number 24, and he's thinking about the 6 that could have been.
You cannot miss this opportunity. Gordon had an interception last week against Middle Tennessee State, and this ball, tough to tell if it was a bad route or a bad throw. It was, or maybe a combination of the two. But Jarius Wright now going into a tie with Anthony Eubanks, number 1 all-time in Arkansas. But that was a gift that Gordon needed to catch.
3rd and 5. Wilson incomplete. Not a great throw by Wright. And is that an example of what Garrick McGee was talking about, not being fundamental, and he delivered that kind of differently?
Yeah, that's
just a guess.
Yeah, that's an easier throw than that. And you can see, yeah, he's really upset. And that's the thing that they're working on, is the technique with Wilson. He has gotten better.
McGee, former player at Arizona State. This field goal attempt from 40 yards out.
And that also makes me think that that was a bad throw that Gordon missed, not a bad route, too.
Zach Hawker from 40. And he pulled it left, no good. So the Volunteers now, and Derek Dooley Boyd by a couple of plays, misses by Arkansas.
And unbelievable that Arkansas looks like they go right down the field. It looks like they're going to go 28-7, and all of a sudden Derek Dooley and his bunch right back in this ball game.
At Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we're proud to be a family-owned business since...
On ESPN, heard some very complimentary remarks coming from Edwards about his rival, Smoke Stewart.
Yeah, but that's like football coaches saying, "Oh, we're terrible." It's like Lou Holtz.
Oh, he was Holtzing?
Lou Holtz always had the worst team, and the other team was always the best team.
Worley off to play action. Completes it for about a 7-yard gain to Dayrick Rogers. Let's go down to Janine.
Well, guys, if you're wondering why Luke Hawker missed that last field goal, I have a wind meter here, and it's telling me this is the bad end zone, actually. And Luke had told me before the game started that the wind was really coming in this end zone. You can see it's been up about 20 miles an hour here on the field. And of course, it's a heck of a lot stronger in the air, but he said he was going to have to be off to the side with the kicks in this end zone. And of course, he hung that one to the left, and he wasn't happy about it.
All right, Janine, and they keep it on the ground, torn pool, and how much of a factor does that impact strategy at some point?
A lot. You know, if you get down to a place where you have to think about a long field goal, it impacts it because you're starting to think, well, wait a minute, where's the wind coming from? And because it's swirling at the top of the stadium, it's right to left. You look down at the flags on the goalposts. Some of them are left to right or hanging straight down. And so as a coach, you're not quite sure, are you going to get help or hurt when you're kicking it? So very much impacts it when you get into that, 40 to 30 range especially.
There's the sweep, and Rogers takes the handoff, makes a nice move, but gains about 2. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour, 21-7. Tennessee with the ball down 14, and here's what's happening now. Jarius Wright tying the Arkansas school record for career receptions. And here's what's coming up ahead. Tennessee looking for its first conference win and looking to avoid its 6th consecutive conference loss. And getting back to Janine, I gotta get with her and see if she can soup up my iPad with all the latest apps.
Somewhere Steve Jobs is smiling.
On Tony in the backfield. Well, given time and delivers a strike. Rogers breaks a couple of tackles. Pardon me, that's Vincent Dallas making the catch. And a Tennessee first down on the gain of 10.
And this play set up by great protection from this offensive line. Worley was able to go through his entire progression. I saw him look at 3 different spots on the field. He comes all the way back underneath to the late developing Vincent Dallas drag route. And that started with the big guys up front, giving him plenty of time against a defensive front that got all over South Carolina last week.
This is Tony right between the tackles, got about 3 or 4 on the play.
Tony's such a great story, a walk-on. And Derek Dooley said he was doing so well in practice, and you just, sometimes there's that mental block about a walk-on, you overlooked him, but this is a young man who, through his effort in practice and how well he ran, has earned his way onto the field.
2nd and 7. Down to the 45. That was Marlon Lane. Got about 2. The 3rd and 5 coming up. Is this Derek Rogers' time again?
Yeah, and again, you're in that area where you may be thinking about 4 down. So we've already seen Worley make a couple of nice deep throws, but I think maybe on this one, you know what they've set up, but they haven't thrown yet, is a wide receiver screen.
Pass complete. They're going to blow this one dead. There was a little bit of motion up front on the defensive line. Might have been the offensive line.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense number 70. 5-yard penalty. It remains 3rd down.
Well, they got Jawan James, the right tackle. And frankly, I think this is the wrong call. The defensive lineman got an early jump on the snap, and Jawan James was reacting to that. And the rule is, if the defender is in the neutral zone when the offensive player moves, that's a penalty against the defense. I think that was the incorrect call.
A great clarification of that, Ed. 3rd down and 10. Worley, little contact and a flag. That looks like pass interference intended for DeAnthony Arnett. Jericho Nelson in on the coverage, along with Greg Gatson.
And Nelson got there just a touch early. And this is another good throw by Worley. You can see why the Tennessee coaching staff made the decision.
Pass interference, defense. The penalty will place the ball at the spot of the foul and includes an automatic 1st down.
And you can see why Worley is a guy that they decided to give a shot. Once Bray went out and they were struggling offensively, I'm not sure what the crowd is booing about. That's pretty clearly defensive pass interference. But that throw, if the defender's not there and doesn't interfere, it could be, that's a completion. What a nice toss.
1st and 10. Worley said they didn't have a lot of data on his true freshman quarterback, Justin Worley. He got the start a couple of weeks ago, and they're going to collect a little bit more data on him, see how he handles the sidelines during this timeout. Point being that a lot of people compared the situation of Worley taking over to when Tyler Bray took over last season. Not quite the same thing.
K-State on ABC. And we're in 3rd overtime until Ryan Tannehill to Zola Wachaku. And we are going to 4th overtime. That was on 4th down. The 2-point conversion incomplete, so this game's still not decided. Overtime number 4, here we come.
Wow, what a game, Wendy. Thank you. 2nd and 6 coming up for the Vols. Poole trying to get to the edge. Got about 3 on the play. It'll be 3rd and about 3 to go. How big would a Tennessee score be here with time winding down in the first half.
Huge, and it started with Tyler Wilson not quite getting it done inside the 30 on the other side of the field. We saw Garrick McGee was very upset. We were during the break reading his lips saying you just need to make one throw, and now you get a little bit of break for Tennessee. And a key third down here. I like that edge, maybe some type of reverse like they did to score the touchdown.
That was Rondo. Lane in the backfield, looking for the toss back. Makes up his own improvisational play, and boy, close to the first down. Let's see where they spot it.
And Marlon Lane was trying to throw this pass, and it looked to me like he had it open, but does a good job. There was too much of a mess in front of him, but he was certainly going to pick that up. The receiver to the right side was running a go route. And Lane, a young man who, he's a true freshman, a very explosive, very smooth athlete, but he had a very serious left knee injury in high school. It's flared up a couple of times. A guy who's been banged around and not taking the beating of the SEC quite the way the older guys would, but that's what happens when you play young people.
A lot of universities.
Worley out of the backfield finds his man. And Poole steps out of bounds after a gain of about 4 on the play. Winding down to about 2 minutes to go here in the first half. And Tennessee handling adversity pretty well here and bouncing back. Arkansas leaving the door open after that missed field goal attempt.
And you've got to think Arkansas at some point here has got to start thinking about using some of these 3 timeouts. As the clock starts to wear down, you want to save some of this for your offense. You don't want that all to bleed away as Tennessee's on this drive.
It's 2nd and 6. Worley. It's caught. Nice grab by Zach Rogers, the junior, working against Tevin Mitchell, and it's 1st and goal.
And Dooley told us about how Justin Worley is a timing thrower. He throws it before Zach Rogers gets out of his break on the deep comeback, and it's good coverage there by Tevin Mitchell, but because the ball was thrown before the receiver came out of his break and accurately, tough to defend.
1st and goal. Poole the deep back out of the eye. He gets the call. Torin Poole moving the pile for a gain of about 3 as we watch quarterback Justin Worley mature before our very own eyes. Young man out of the state of Carolina, South Carolina, that won a state championship in high school.
And this is a throwing down. A little surprised that Bobby Petrino, an offensive coach in his background, has not used a timeout here. This clock just melting away is not going to give his offense much of a chance if Tennessee's able to score on this drive.
2nd and goal. On the fade, incomplete, intended for Zach Rogers. 3rd and goal coming up.
And now to me, this is where you get bodies in the end zone running crossing routes. Don't call another fade. I don't mind the call that time on the fade to Zach Rogers, but on 3rd and goal, and if you don't make it, I think you're thinking field goal here. So to me, I think you want guys in the end zone. But it's all about protection now. If you're going to run crossing routes, that take a little longer to develop.
Worley under heat, gets it off, picked off, intercepted. Tremaine Thomas with his 4th interception of the season.
And you can see Derek Dooley going over to his quarterback. No reason to rip him. He's a young guy. Thought he had his receiver coming open. Great pressure by Beckett. And he's looking for DeAnthony Arnett. But once again, Tremaine Thomas does an excellent job reading that, and you can see the body English. Felt like they had a touchdown, but Thomas, once again, and we were talking to Willie Robinson, the defensive coordinator, he could not speak any more highly about Bennett and Thomas, his safeties. What a great read by Thomas, coming off of his responsibility to make that pick.
Now that we run a little clock out, you would think that is the 6th consecutive game now that the Arkansas team has come up with an interception. And the one indelible image after that pick was the reaction of Dooley. You have to know it's difficult for a head coach under duress like him to not blow his top and rip his quarterback, as you alluded to, and encourage him instead.
But a young quarterback like that, if you lose your cool in that moment, you may lose the player. I give him a lot of credit for how he handled that situation.
Tennessee unable to punch it into the end zone in the shadows of the Arkansas goalposts. The first half in the books, and it's 21-7 for Arkansas. Let's go downstairs to Janine.
Derek, what grade would you give your freshman quarterback in his first road start?
Well, he's been off and on. We've had 2 good drives, but the difference in this half is we had 5 missed tackles on a punt, and the guy makes a big play, and then we're in cover 2, and they split a run for a long run, and we can't give up big plays. That's what they do best.
So how can you get some more points on the board in this second half?
We got to play sound football, and we can't miss tackles. We got to rally and put a lot of hats on the football, no big plays, but now we got to convert it when we get down in the red zone. Can't throw an interception down there.
See you then. Thanks, Coach.
207 yards of offense. Hey, Tennessee's moved the ball. As we go back to the studio for the Outback Steakhouse report. And Wendy Nix, so far Tennessee is all sizzle, no steak. Back to you.
Mark, thank you very much. Perhaps better things to come in the second half. We're glad you could be here with us, though. In the meantime, Robert Smith, Todd McShay, I'm Wendy Nix. We begin with what else? The very latest from Penn State, where the Nittany Lions were finally back to football after an incredibly emotional week. Penn State hosting Nebraska this afternoon in State College. Jay Paterno this morning leaving his father's house, having visited with Coach Joe Paterno and his mother, and then the team enters the stadium. Before the kickoff, players from both teams gathered for prayer. It was led by Nebraska assistant coach Ron Brown. He helps run Mission Nebraska, and in Paterno's absence, Tom Bradley, the Paterno name, represented by his son Jay. Amir Abdullah up the middle for the game's first touchdown. That put Nebraska up 10-0.
It's a hard-fought every yard they gained in the inside against this great Penn State defense. You know, they really had to earn, and you see there just a whole lot of defense in this game, especially early on.
Matt McGloin was sacked, and on the ensuing drive, Taylor Martinez runs the option, pitches to Rex Burkhead, and that too leads to a touchdown. Nebraska now leading 17-0.
Really a nice job by both of these guys. Taylor Martinez knowing that Rex Burkhead's going to be there. Rex Burkhead staying in position. Taylor Martinez thought his knee might have been down, but it wasn't. Nice pitch, nice touchdown.
McGloin to Derek Moy for a 40-yard gain. The Nittany Lions would score and trail 17-7. 4th and 1 for Penn State here. Brandon Beecham runs for 2 yards and the first down.
Showed a lot of toughness, even on the offense in the second half. And then Matt McGloin gets involved as a receiver going down the field. Robert, he actually looks like an athlete here.
You're saying he doesn't when he normally plays quarterback, right?
That's exactly what I'm insinuating.
Later in the drive, Stephon Green runs for the 6-yard TD. And Penn State determined to make this a ball game. It is a 3-point game now with just under 6 to play. McGloin here, though, incomplete. This is the last play of the game, and it just wasn't quite enough for Penn
And I'll tell you,
State.
Penn State really had an opportunity to just completely fold, considering all the circumstances of this week. I think it says a lot about this team, a lot about what Tom Bradley was able to do as the interim coach.
Here is the interim head coach after the game. First, though, numbers. Rex Burkhead, 25 rushing yards, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Up next for Penn State, Ohio State. But first, we need to absorb today. Here's the head coach.
When I got to the stadium today to see the support from those students and the solidarity with what they believed, I've had numerous calls from student activity groups. Would I help them with you know, helping heal? Could I help them with children? Could I do a lot of these different things, which I said I would? But just to see them all out there and the support and the class that they exhibited, maybe today's the start of this healing process.
I know you visited with your dad earlier today, your dad and Sue, and you wrote him a letter to try to deliver your message to them. Essentially, what were you trying to share with them, Jay?
Just how proud of him I am, and Dad, I wish you were here. We love you. Go.
Clearly an emotional Jay Paterno after what has been an emotional week for the entire Penn State community. Really, the absence of Joe Paterno looming large. Jay Paterno, around 5 o'clock this afternoon, went back to his parents' home. Also, we should tell you that before the game, he gave his parents a letter, asked them not to read it until he was gone, presumably just prior to the ball game. Perhaps this is the start of the healing process, but Robert, I don't know. First, we have to talk about today. How do you sum up in totality what you saw?
Well, I think that Coach Bradley was right. It was the actual start of the healing process, playing the game today. I'm sure it was a great relief for many of the players to finally stop hearing about the distractions and just go out and do what you were trained to do. Now, certainly Tom Bradley did a great job, but I think it's important to give some credit to Joe Paterno in the years that he's had there as a coach, because make no mistake about it, when these kids went to Penn State, they decided to go there to play for Joe Paterno.
And a time to forage if you're the Razorbacks. Be careful when using seniority, for overconfidence can lead to tears. Waiting to capitalize and apply some pressure, those pesky volunteers. Concentrated effort and a staunch will. All present tonight in Fayetteville. Under the lights at Razorback Stadium, welcome everyone back to the SEC on ESPN. The 17th meeting all time between Arkansas and Tennessee. The Razorbacks leading it 21-7 as we get ready for the start of the third quarter of play. Arkansas hoping for a shot at LSU 2 Fridays from now, and potentially still mathematically in the running for the national championship and coming out of the SEC West. Let's not get ahead of ourselves too far. Yeah, there's a lot of permutations there, Ed. But so far in the first half, I mean, a high-powered offense held in check or not in the first half?
I think Tennessee has to feel very good about themselves. They're sitting here. They went down. They could have kicked the field goal, went for the fake instead. Then they drive down the field. Justin Worley starting to look like he fits in to this system pretty well. So I think they have to have some confidence. And for me, looking at Arkansas, it's all about just getting Tyler Wilson settled down a little bit. He looked out of sorts in that last drive. He's a guy who's bounced back. And remember, Arkansas, a very good second-half team. And through this, so far this year, Tennessee has not been. So to me, that's got to be the message for Arkansas, to be a second-half team again.
Yeah, Ball's had some second-half struggles. Let's take a look at our expert breakdown brought to you by Farmers Insurance.
What a nice job by Tremaine Thomas. He's got the back quarter of this end zone. And on the far side of the field is going to be a double move route by DeAnthony Arnett. But as Thomas starts looking and realizing that the quarterback, it comes right back to read the quarterback's eyes. Instead of going for the big hit on Arnett, which you see sometimes, he plays the ball perfectly. He couldn't have read the quarterback any better.
Ball comes loose on the kickoff return. Tennessee kicked it off. It looks like the Hogs, fortunately for them, got it back. First down and 10 from the 35. Let's go downstairs to Janine Edwards.
Well, guys, Bobby Petrino thinks that his Arkansas Razorbacks are giving the Volunteers way too much time with their play-action pass. So he said that's what he keyed in on at halftime, especially with his defense. The other factor, the wind is still swirling heavily across the field, especially in this north end zone. Zach Hawker came out early at halftime to practice kicking, and guys, he still missed 2 that hung left.
Yeah, it's pretty tricky down there with that swirling wind out of the backfield. This is Joe Adams. Adams with his first reception of the game, closing in on that record, which Jarius Wright has already gotten to. We'll look at the first half numbers. Which are the one that jumps off the page at you?
Well, you talk about time of possession, everyone. You know, in this day and age, doesn't really matter much when you get a punt return and a long run. That time of possession's a little skewed when you're up 21-7.
Pass complete. Kobe Hamilton who had a crucial drop last week, picks up 4 on the play. Hamilton said to have the best hands on the team.
Had a drop last week on an inside fade route against South Carolina. When you think about this offense and how good it is, and they lost Niall Davis in the preseason with an ankle injury, 1,300-yard rusher last year. Greg Childs, not quite 100%, who was one of the best receivers in the country before he hurt his patella tendon. It's really amazing how proficient this offense has been without those guys.
Johnson on that last run. Look at the proficiency of those guys tonight. Johnson with the TD return. Adams with the punt return. 3rd of the season for him. Wright and Thomas making contributions as well. Arkansas and Tennessee side of midfield. Razorbacks looking for their 7th consecutive win against SEC East opponents. Underneath, there's a flag down. Wright makes the catch, gets the first down. Pardon me, that's Adams. But let's see if it stands.
Adams has got such a bright future at the next level because he is so good in space. He just...
Holding, offense, number 71. The penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat, 3rd down.
Give Jason Peacock the weak side tackle. But when you watch Adams, once he catches the ball, not the biggest guy, but he is so tough to take down. Of course, we saw that punt return. I don't even have words to describe what that was. But even on that, just a little short pass, his ability to use the stiff arm, just so good, making people miss finishing the run.
Adams, another one of those players from Arkansas. 3rd and long, 15 to go. Johnson makes the catch, but he's met immediately, and Tennessee's defense will get Arkansas's offense off the field here on their first possession of the second half.
And it goes back to the penalty on Peacock, because that drive started looking like they had some momentum. Adams would have picked up the first down if not for the penalty, and now Arkansas allowing Tennessee to kind of hang in this game a little bit, and let's see if Worley can bounce back from throwing that interception there near the end of the half.
Second punt of the night for Breeding, and they're going to blow the whistle.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 35. 5-yard penalty. It remains 4th down.
That didn't look too pleasant, partner.
No, the coaches seem to be upset with Tyler Wilson. We saw Garrick McGee get on him in the first half, and at the time Bobby Petrino not looking very happy with him.
High but short punt. Takes a Razorback bounce. Does it ever? This one's going to go inside the 5. So the Volunteers going to be pinned. 96 yards to go on this, the opening drive for them in the 3rd quarter. And now for our conference update, brought to you by Dr. Pepper 10.
And Georgia getting a huge win over Auburn. South Carolina stays in the hunt in the East with 2 losses, but Georgia playing Kentucky next, looking like they will be the representative for the East. And I think they were easy to write off earlier in the year with those 2 losses. Georgia's playing awfully good and have a very good quarterback in Aaron Murray. Don't write them off like it's going to be a whitewash in the SEC championship game.
Worley has it tipped. Dangerously almost intercepted. Beckett got his hands on it. Beckett playing a nice game tonight. Has a total of 5 sacks on the season. He's the SEC reigning co-defensive player of the week. A full moon tonight over Razorback Stadium. A luminous sight up in the sky. Bunch of stars down on the field. 2nd and 10. Torn pull the deep back out of the eye. Well, Worley's got to take a timeout. Ed, you played the position up front. What do you figure that he might have said to his offensive lineman?
I think that potentially Alex Bullard, the center, didn't look back for the silent snap count. You know, you see the guy duck his head down. What he's looking for is the indication that the quarterback is ready to take the snap. But when Worley was ready for the ball, Bullard was still looking around, and so Worley called the timeout instead of getting a delay of game because the center didn't have his head down looking to see that the quarterback was ready to take the snap.
Is there anything else he can do when that happens? Can he go up there and tell him?
He should. He should just walk up and tap it. The clock was getting down low. I think he was getting nervous that even if Bullard had looked under, they may get a penalty.
Folks, Sunday NFL Countdown returns this season with a new start time. 3 hours of the best. Berman, Jackson, Johnson, Ditka, Carter, Mortensen, Schechter providing all the news and updates right up to kickoff. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM on ESPN Sunday 10 a.m. Eastern Time. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Second down and 10. Right up the middle. Maybe 3 yards on the play for Torin Poole. Poole, the 5'10" senior.
Tennessee has struggled running the ball. They're 118th in the country out of 120 FBS teams. Torin Poole, a guy who ran for over 1,000 yards last year, hoping to get him going, but you're starting to see Tony come in. But here, down, pin deep, if you throw it, I'm thinking some type of screen. I'm not sure that they want Worley standing in the pocket against this pass rush.
Looking for the safe one then, huh? Out of the end zone, finds his man and then some. Rogers. Derrick Rogers with a first down into Razorback territory at the 45. So Worley showing a lot of moxie and poise. And unflappable in the pocket that time. A 48-yard completion.
And it all starts with good protection up front. Derrick Rogers on the outside runs an in cut. And Tremaine Thomas, the safety, who's been playing so well all night, got himself a little out of position and wasn't able to not only cover it, but make the tackle after the catch.
First and 10. There's a little fly sweep. They hand it off to Rajan Neal. Derrick Rogers with a nice play to get them into position here.
And Thomas was expecting something to the outside, but he's got to be, we've seen him jump routes, and that time he kind of got a little hesitant there. And Worley, you can see why the coaches like this young man. That ball was thrown on time, accurately, in a place where the receiver could pick up yards after the catch. If you throw that ball low or high, the defender can close on it. Yeah, you pick up the first down, but you don't get the big game.
Hand it off. That's Poole who's back in the ball game. Got about 2 on the play. Well, you know what? You talk about Worley, who seems to be growing into the position snap by snap. Tyler Bray getting ready to come back. What do you do about that dilemma?
I think Bray, if Bray is ready, and that's a big question because that thumb has been in a cast. You don't even know if he's going to be able to grip the ball. But if Bray is able to go, he's got to be your guy because of the experience and what he did earlier this season and last year. I still think he'd be your quarterback if he's healthy.
On 3rd and 4, they run it. And Lane won't get enough for the first down, but there's a flag thrown on the play. So let's wait and see. Tyler Bray forced the watch from the sidelines. Broke that thumb in the Georgia game that we did several weeks ago.
Holding, offense, number 81. Penalty is 10 yards. Repeat 3rd down.
Well, Tyler Bray had that cast removed earlier this week. And he's starting to throw a little bit now, and still no definitive word as to when he's going to be back, and it's his throwing hand.
Yeah, and it's all going to be about how much strength he can get in that thumb and have that ball not slip out, be able to really snap it off. Got the brace back on it, protecting it, but him being able to throw is a good sign for Tennessee.
3rd and long. Blitz coming. Worley fumbles it. And it got out of bounds at the 40-yard line. But a big hit by Beckett once again. Boy, Beckett fully recovered from that hamstring injury. And, man, his motor is really revving tonight.
Last game here in Fayetteville for the senior, whose grandfather, uncle, dad all played here. Watch working one-on-one against Dallas Thomas. Excellent job coming back. He gets the sack and the forced fumble. Had 3 last week. 100% finally from that hamstring injury. And Bobby Petrino yesterday, we talked to him, said, what a good time to get our front healthy for this stretch run.
Boy, Pilardi shanks one. And that was not a good punt. That's going to be marked at the 48-yard line. You add it all up, it's a 12-yard punt by Pilardi.
You didn't get a Miller Lite?
No. What's the difference?
Worley and Bray side by side. Bray had that cast taken off on Monday this week, and Janine Edwards had a chance to talk to him recently. What did he have to say, Janine?
Well, in pregame warm-ups, he was throwing the ball around like the old Tyler, and he's a confident kid now. He told me, hey, I could play this game tonight if they needed me to. He fully expects to be out on the field for next week's game. He said he's up at 6 a.m. every morning in the training room doing stretching and strengthening exercises on that thumb, and he's got about a 4-inch scar on it.
Trying to bounce back from that injury. A 2-yard gain that time by Dennis Johnson. It's going to be under 9 minutes to go here in third, and this is how he was injured.
And they were starting such a tough stretch of their schedule, Tennessee was, and then the next throw after he hit his thumb, when he snapped his thumb into the helmet of the Georgia player, broke it. He knew right away. We actually saw him say it's broken during that time. But you think about the stretch of games they were on: Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and now Arkansas. Tough time to lose your starting quarterback.
Yeah, nice pass by the counterpart of his. Wilson complete to Wright for a first down. 14-yard pickup as Wright eclipsing the mark now and becoming Arkansas's all-time leading career receiver. Of course, Adams can still catch him before the night's over and become the new leader. One of the nuances of the record book tonight, and they blow it dead. Flag on the play. We asked Jarius Wright if he was going to be lobbying his quarterback, Tyler Wilson.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense, number 71. 5-yard penalty. It remains first down.
And Jarius Wright said, I would lobby him, but the problem is I'm really good friends with Joe Adams. So whoever gets the record. And even though it's senior night, still 2 games in the regular season. Of course, next week a home game against Mississippi State, but in Little Rock. It's a home game for them, but obviously not here in Fayetteville. So a long way to go, including a bowl game, potentially a BCS bowl game, for these guys to sort out who's going to finish number 1.
He wasn't feeling our suggestion about tying up Adams either. Just for the record. Plenty of time and wide open. There he is, right on time for a first down. Working on Justin Coleman. A 26-yard gain that time.
And here goes Arkansas moving fast. Feels like they have Tennessee on their heels. They've done this a couple times. I like this, where they speed it up a bit after a big play. But one thing Arkansas does, they put so much stress on you with those crossing routes. That one, kind of an arrow route at an angle across the field, and just no chance to cover that if the offensive line gives Wilson time, which they did on that one.
Razorbacks a big second-half team offensively. Wilson throws it away. Maybe second down and 10. Didn't like what he saw out there in the secondary. Tyler Wilson, the 6'3" junior. He was a guy that won a state championship here back in high school, so he came highly acclaimed. And Ryan Mallett, of course, transferred from Michigan, was the starter. But this guy, Tyler Wilson, has always had the respect and cred from his teammates.
Well, he was recruited with all of these great receivers in the same class. He's a junior because he redshirted when he came in. All of these young receivers had to play just because they didn't have anybody. And but they knew he would be their quarterback eventually.
There's Johnson breaking it through the line. DJ spinning. Touchdown. His second of the night.
Excellent job by this offensive line. Look at the block by Alvin Bailey. Watching this young man on film, number 67, he is such a powerful, powerful man. Just a clean zone block, rolls off, knocks his man right off of the line of scrimmage. And Johnson able, because of that movement, you get a powerful guy like Johnson at 5'9", 213 pounds, and the secondary linebackers can't get around him.
Those tailbacks got a lot to be thankful for with the guys up front. Arkansas in control.
Leah Hyundai.
That, of course, a replica of the Statue of Liberty here in Fayetteville. It was dedicated by the Boy Scouts of America as a pledge of everlasting fidelity and loyalty.
I climbed up in that the other day when we got here.
You fit?
It's a beautiful view of the Ozarks from her crown.
Arkansas drawing first blood here in the second half. That drive started after the 12-yard punt by Pilardi. 5 plays, 52 yards later, they scored. I'm Mark Jones along with Ed Cunningham. Janine Edwards down on the sidelines. 7:07 to go here in the third quarter, and Tennessee hoping to get untracked here. Talk about this offensive line play here, Ed. What do you see?
You know, watching Alvin Bailey on film, he's such a powerful man. Watch as he gets his right hand inside. Watch as he finishes this block on Corey Miller, how that inside hand, and you'd say, oh, yeah, that's holding. But the truth is, when your hands are inside, you get away with that. It's when the hands go to the outside. So not only did Bailey knock his man Miller off the ball, but when he got that hand inside and Miller went to try to make the tackle, Bailey did a good job of finishing him because he had that inside hand position. Completely legal. They won't make that call, and a good finish of the block.
Worley hands it off to the walk-on, Jerron Toney. At the bottom of the hour here, 7 minutes to go in the third quarter in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Here what's happening now. Dennis Johnson with a career-high 2 rushing touchdowns tonight, coming off a great week last week in that win here at home against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Ahead, Arkansas looking to keep pace in that SEC West race, with Alabama in second place and LSU having a surprisingly difficult time early tonight
with the Hilltoppers.
Worley completes this one. Nice spin move to Arnett, and Arnett gets the first down beyond the 30-yard line. A nice gain of 9 yards on the play.
And in the West, Arkansas, of course, lost head-to-head to Alabama. If Arkansas and Alabama win out, there is a scenario where Arkansas would go to the SEC championship game. It would be a 3-way tie where you'd get all the way down to the BCS standings. Now, for that to happen, first and second have to be within 5 places of each other, and then it goes to the head-to-head. The problem with that is Alabama likely would be the team ahead of them, and of course would go because of that head-to-head. So I think they may need some help with Alabama losing potentially against Auburn.
Young run out of bounds, no gain on the play by Bennett. And you look at the stacked SEC West, arguably the most talented division in college football, Southeastern Conference Western Division. They would have a valid point if they made the complaint that the rule that allows just 2 teams to BCS bowls should be changed.
Yeah, there is a scenario where there'll be 3 one-loss teams in the SEC West, but you can only send 2, and unfortunately I think in that scenario Arkansas may be left out of the BCS after getting to the Sugar Bowl last year.
Here's Lane.
It'd be tough, I think, for them. Of course, if LSU wins out, goes to the SEC championship game, they're in the national champion. Or excuse me, the SEC West win the SEC championship game, they go to the national championship. But there is a scenario where you'd have 3 one-loss teams in the West in this conference, and of course only 2 can go. But yeah, I think you're right. There would be a very good argument.
They can make a little noise.
Yeah, those are
or a lot of
teams
noise
that deserve to go to the BCS.
3rd and 6. Blitz coming. Picked it up, but short of the first down by a couple of yards. Nice catch by Lane at this juncture of the game. Do you go for it?
You go for it, yeah. I mean, this is exactly where Derek Dooley, when they were playing on the road against Alabama, went for it. Now, in that game, they went for a quarterback sneak. I do not think with just over a yard to go, we'll see that again. Although Arkansas's defensive line in the middle, not quite as stout as Alabama, but they're leaving Rajon Neal in the game. Remember, they used him on that sweep, that kind of speed sweep. I'm not sure that they're going to do a quarterback sneak, so maybe something on the edge.
Well, Tennessee's going to talk this one over as we take a look at the streets of Fayetteville. Back with more in a minute.
ESPN Monday Night Football.
To his team.
A very aggressive one. I love this call by Derek. He did the same thing against Alabama. At this stage in the season, down 28-7. I think it's the exact message his team may need in this type of game. You pick this up, go down and score, cut it to a 2-touchdown game. Who knows what may happen in the fourth quarter.
Especially for a young group. 21 freshmen in all have played this year. 16 true freshmen. Incomplete, and the Razorbacks take over on downs. Wasn't really close either. Intended for DeAnthony Arnett.
Little surprised they went with a spread formation there. Like I said, I didn't expect them to run a quarterback sneak. That has not been good for them this year, but expected some type of running play, although they haven't been great at that either. So I know Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, and Derek Dooley going back and forth, just trying to get anything going. So I kind of feel their pain a little bit.
Johnson in the backfield. This group of seniors has been a very accomplished class. And looking up top, open! Touchdown! Adams!
Well, and you think about Tennessee and all the guys that they're missing from injury. And, of course, had earlier before the season, they threw Jansen Jackson off the team, probably their best defensive player, definitely their best defensive back guy in the secondary. They're missing Brent Brewer, who has an ACL injury, so you've just got so much youth and inexperience in that secondary, and Adams just cuts it right down the middle with a beautiful post route and a wonderful throw by Tyler Wilson.
Well, you know, the best thing for Tennessee is that in a couple of years they could end up how Arkansas is right now, because Arkansas has been there before. They were like this. They were in this state a couple of years ago.
Yeah, when we met with Bobby Petrino yesterday talking about this senior class, he went all the way back to 08, and they had to play these guys like Adams and Wright. All of these freshmen just had to play. And we said, you know, can you feel for Derek Dooley? He said, absolutely. In this conference, when you have to play that many young guys, and even when we talked to Beckett and Wright yesterday, they said they were lucky to win 5 games that year. But he said, I can absolutely, Petrino said, I can absolutely feel for Derek Dooley. Now it's been 2 years in a row. They've had to play 16 true freshmen, Tennessee has. And of course, then you get a schedule that includes the 3 teams from the West you have to play are LSU, Alabama, and Arkansas. Almost a little unfair for Tennessee this year.
There are no breathers in the Southeastern Conference. No weekends off. 4:17 to go in the third quarter, and the Razorbacks have broken this game wide open in the third period. That was Arkansas's 4th play tonight of 40-plus yards. So come out to the 20. Well, celebrating its 7th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. To date, Allstate has contributed more than $2.5 million in scholarship monies. 1st and 10 for the Volunteers from their own 20. And Worley comes to line up as a receiver. Lane will take the direct snap out of the Wildcat formation. A nice play for a first down and then some. He's got some green in front of him. And brought down finally at the 34 by Tevin Mitchell. So offensive coordinator Jim Chaney with a nice button to press.
And Lane looking still a little banged up. What a good move. He is so smooth. Of course, the defensive lineman Zach Stadler was falling down, but still a good move, changed direction. But he just looks, this young man, we talked to Coach Dooley about the scars that his team has accumulated. These young guys, they're getting used to